Hello, Jen from Nearing Wild here. So, this is kind of a continuation from last week. Last week, we talked about the mother wound. If you haven't heard or seen this, we dabbled in talking about energies, so masculine and feminine energies. And I mentioned that I could probably do an entire podcast on this, maybe two, but that's what we're going to get into today. So, we're talking about energetic duality. And this is something that a lot of people don't recognize is such a big part of why we struggle in so many ways. It has such a big role, has a lot to do with how we can struggle personally with who we are, relationally, with money, career, pretty much everything. So I wanted to explain this to you all because of how important it is. And we're going to be talking about the imbalances of the feminine and the masculine energies. So today I'm going to be covering what divine energies look like, what that even means when they're healthy and balanced, and what an imbalance looks like, how this shows up in your life, how this affects who you are, how you can begin to understand where you're at on the scale, and also how to begin to change that, how to become more balanced in your own energy. So you now might know that every single person has masculine and feminine traits, and masculine and feminine energies, they are within everyone. It does not matter if your gender, it's really irrelevant. That's just something that society has put on us, this idea that masculine is for a man and feminine is for a woman. So it is really the yin and yang. It's very important to have both. You can't really have one without the other. They go together. So when I say divine energies, like divine masculine traits or divine feminine traits, I'm referring to healthy energies, as opposed to when I say wounded masculine and wounded feminine traits. So I'm going to get into what those actually look like to start, just to give you an idea. So first of all, I want you to remember that gender is irrelevant, right? It's really society that has given us this belief that gender has something to do with these energies, but a wounded masculine person can be a woman and a wounded feminine person can be a man. It is extremely common. Okay, so if I could bring gender into all of this, if I had to, I would say that a divine feminine woman is balanced between both tapping into the masculine and the feminine when needed. And a divine masculine man is also balanced between both, tapping into the feminine and being in his masculine. And that's probably the only way, but you need to remember that gender is pretty irrelevant for this. It's all about balance, and all about balance depending on, doesn't matter if you are a man, a woman, whatever you identify as. So let me start by explaining the traits of the divine energies. So divine feminine and divine masculine. And then I'm going to go into the wounded traits and imbalances as well. So divine feminine energy is about being very deeply connected to yourself, your truth, your intuition, your purpose on this earth, your connection with the universe. You are creative if you have this divine feminine energy. You are trusting, you are intuitive, you are surrendered. You know that you can let go and you don't need control. This person, if you do have this divine energy and it is healthy and balanced, they are connected to their physical body. They have an inner knowing. They are perceptive. They are wise and heart-centered. They are nurturing and compassionate and forgiving. all of these things. So they are very powerful in their own right. A divine masculine, this energy is more of the doer. So they are action based. They are confident with who they are and what they signify, what they portray, who they are really moving forward in life. They use structure and logic. They use their head. They take charge. They are assertive and put up a fight, really, when it comes to anything that's connected to their truth. So it's about being assertive and saying what's on your mind, as long as it is coming from a place of truth. So both of these energies are extremely important. If you're predominantly feminine, you can have really great passion and vision, but no drive to move forward, or an inability to kind of move forward. If you are highly in your masculine, you can hustle really hard and get a shit ton done and experience burnout because you're not connected to your truth and you're not living in line with your purpose and the way that our souls are really meant to live in this lifetime. So let me explain wounded energy, which really means that there is an imbalance, right? So when the energy is wounded, it is being imbalanced. It is often connected to being wounded from, childhood. That is how this energy gets wounded, because we experience this life and we have to put on masks. We have to put on a front in order to survive, in order to get through this human life. And when that happens, our energies become imbalanced. We move away from this divine energy, especially if we don't have a person showing us what that even looks like. Often our parents are not raised with that either. So there's nowhere for us to learn this. Okay, so the wounded feminine is insecure, maybe looking for external validation. That often happens, but very self-doubting, can be critical of other people, can be critical of yourself, somewhat needy in relationships. This person can be manipulative, can't fully control their emotions. This person can be in victim mode, maybe feeling like life happens to them, not for them. They might feel hopeless or feel alone, disconnected, or unsupported. They might prioritize other people ahead of themselves. So, this is a huge one. People pleasing, being codependent, having a lack of boundaries, overgiving, really giving too much of yourself and not getting it in return. That is resentment is created from that. Maybe not connected to their passion or their purpose, or connected to their reason for being here on this universe, on this earth, and not living up to their potential, or a feeling that I feel like I'm not living up to my potential. I don't know what that means, but I don't think this is it. Feeling like they have little or no self-control, hiding behind fear, sometimes being risk averse. And another big one is feeling like they can't just be. So that is the wounded feminine. Okay, so the other wounded energy is the wounded masculine. And so this is really not being able to act from a place of knowing our truth, feeling this sense of lack of clarity, also has resentment, feeling like maybe you have to do everything yourself, putting yourself up to perfectionist like standards, having high expectations. You might be controlling or dominating. You might be competitive or always wanting to win. You can be aggressive at times. It can be hustling, that hustle culture. And a sign of that is, of course, burnout. This wounded masculine can be focused on goals instead of really their passion, just moving forward into their belief of success. They can be cold and distant or not connected to their emotions. They might feel like they have to be right. There could be a fear of failure, possibly an air of defending yourself. This energy can also put you into a place of attack or accusations, or even, defense, like I was saying. It can be withdrawal from other people, you withdraw from situations. It can be critical and judgmental, and sometimes that's just of yourself. It's really about being stuck in your mind. That's where the wounded masculine is instead of, being in your heart, it can be very stuck in your mind. It can be being addicted to work, feeling like that sense of needing to control every situation, thinking of relationships as transactional. That is a really big one. And we have to remember that absolutely not all of these traits will resonate with every person. If you are in the wounded feminine, or if you are in the wounded masculine, chances of every single one of these, you ticking them all off, is pretty slim. So if you're like, nope, not that, that's totally okay. And also remember, there's a lot of what sounds like negative traits to these wounded energies, but a lot of these are, first of all, inward for yourself. And that's actually where it comes from. Even if it does turn external, if the anger or judgment is external, that is really just anger and judgment towards yourself. So if you have any shame when I say some of these, like, oh my gosh, I am controlling other people, or, whatever it is, recognize that it's not intentional and it's actually about you, right? Even if you can think of someone else in your life that might be in the wounded feminine or might be in the wounded masculine more than you, and you might feel a bit of judgment towards that, or wish that they weren't like that, remember that it's really about them. And it's almost, I'm actually going to say it's never intentional. It really is not. And remember, this is just who we had to become in order to survive in our childhood, right? So I also need to point out that a person could be a balance of wounded and masculine. Sorry, a person could be a balance of wounded masculine and wounded feminine, but most often they are imbalanced. So either wounded, or healthy. If you are all wounded masculine, that's an imbalance. So the thing to remember and to take into consideration is the goal is to have a balance of divine masculine and feminine energies. So whether you are all wounded energy of one side versus the other, or you are all divine energies of one side versus the other, the goal is to be balanced. Okay. Not one is not better than the other. The goal is to be balanced. Okay. And why? You might be asking why. It creates a sense of harmony, both within you, but also within your entire life and the people around you, and a sense of fulfillment as well. So it really, the balance, the imbalance, or the way that you resonate with these really depends on the life that you've lived, the role models around you, and who you had to become in order to survive your childhood, in order to survive this human existence, coming to this world and experiencing your family dynamics and the societal dynamics and all of those things. And that has a really big role in the energy that you embodied, especially the people around you. It's pretty much impossible. I think it is impossible, actually, to embody a complete balance of divine masculine and divine feminine if you don't have a role model showing you what that looks like, right? Then we just have no idea what that even means. So if you're not sure, if I said all of these things and you're like, I don't know, I kind of feel like everything, or I thought one thing and then I moved to something else, you can also look at your parents to see what they're embodying. That can give you a little bit of an idea. And it can also help you understand how you may have had to embody the energies that you have embodied. Also, I might have made a little bit of a freebie that I'll tell you about at the end, and that's going to help you even more recognize where you're at now. But I won't spoil that. Okay, so how can these things affect you in your life? Because obviously, I've got to have a big reason for wanting to share this, right? And yeah, this can affect you in huge ways. First of all, personally, right? Feeling who you feel. Let me try that one again. What you feel about who you are, all of your emotions, how you carry yourself, how you feel connected to other people, how you feel connected to the world. All of these things are about your inner world and how you feel inside, feeling lost and disconnected from your own truth. Anything that we feel inside can be very connected to the energy that we have learned to embody, right? And when it comes to relationships, this is huge, especially love, but really any relationship. It can affect, and it does affect in huge, huge ways. So whatever energy you are embodying, you're going to continue to attract wounded energy if you are wounded, right? So you'll continue attracting people who are anywhere from emotionally unavailable, non-committal, controlling, or people who are shut down and aren't able to open up their heart in the way that you want them to. Whatever it is, even if it's maybe controlling, narcissistic, whatever it is that you maybe keep gravitating towards, and it might shift from one wounding to another wounding and seem different at first, but turn out to be very similar. You're going to continue to be a magnet to that energy if you don't heal your energy, if you don't become balanced. That's just how the law of attraction works. So if you are someone who is predominantly in your masculine, you're not going to be able to attract someone who is also in their divine masculine to kind of take charge. So if you resonate with that, I've spoken to a lot of people who are in their masculine and they say, I want to date someone, or I want to be someone who's going to take charge. That energy isn't available. You are not open to that type of energy. And just like the same as if you are in your feminine, whether the wounded feminine, you're not going to be able to attract someone in their divine feminine. So if you are really not able to connect deeply to yourself, you're not going to be able to attract someone who is surrendered and trusting. Those energies don't match. Does that make sense? So even if you think about the friends that you have in your life, all of the people who are around you they're going to reflect to this in some way. That's why there are some energies that you might be immediately attracted to or immediately unattracted to. It is so connected to the wounded energy and the divine energies that we carry, because we are really always playing out our childhood trauma, right? This is something that I often say. So if we have embodied this wounded energy, that is from our childhood, growing up in our family dynamics, growing up in society. We are always going to be playing that out. So you are going to be attracted to the parts of people that feel safe and feel good to you until you begin to heal that. So yes, it shows up in relationship. We tend to convince ourselves that it's about finding the right person, or even, trying to change the person that you already do love. But it really always comes down to healing yourself. So that's, I think, a really important part to this, recognizing that it's not that you're a bad picker or a bad chooser. Like, you always choose, I see that all the time. You always choose the wrong person. It's not about that. It's that you actually can't attract and be attracted to that person that you want. You're not available for it. And this comes back to the yin and yang that I was talking about, that's craved among relationships, but it has to be healthy energies to work. The other way that this can show up in your life is with money. Oh my gosh. Wounded feminine likely has a block from making more money, possibly can't figure out how to make more than they already are, or how to make enough. They might spend more than they want to. They don't, that aspect of not being able to control their emotions is very connected to that. The wounded masculine might make money, but sometimes there's two aspects of not being able to make any more. So it's like there's a cap, or you're making a great amount of money, but you're really not emotionally fulfilled. So that's the connection there. So if we can't receive in love, you can't receive in life, and that means you can't receive in with money. They are extremely connected. So if you have a business as well, this is likely going to be a huge part of what's playing out there too. If you feel stuck, or you don't know how to move forward, you don't know how to become successful, you might be on hustle mode, but not really doing what lights you up. Ooh. Sorry, folks, had an alarm going off. So you might be in hustle mode, but not really doing what lights you up and what fires your passion. Okay. And I want you to remember that this is not actually who you are, right? This is who you had to become. This is not in your DNA, all of these things. I think we have this tendency to believe that all of our struggles are just who we are. I know I 100% felt that when I don't even want to say when I was younger. For most of my life, the ways that I struggled in relationships, how I felt about myself, how I felt about myself at work, all of my struggles, I just felt like, all right, I have tried to change. I have really, really tried. This is just who I am. And this is my reminder to you, as someone who 100% believed that this is not who you are. This is who you had to become to survive life as a freaking human being in this wild freaking world, okay? With your family, with society, with trauma, experiencing all of these things. This makes you wear masks, and you had to put all of these things on. You had to hide who you were. You had to change who you were in order to survive, right? In order to feel loved and accepted. And it naturally pulls you, I'll say pulls us away from our authentic selves. So it makes you feel very disconnected. And that's where all I'm saying, I could go down a whole rabbit hole here, is it's not about who you are. Okay. This shift and these changes are for everyone. There's not one person in the world that is not meant for this. So it's really just a result of who you had to become, and it is unconscious. So give yourself a break. Okay. Okay, last episode, I had so much fun thinking about and talking about some of the famous archetypes that I shared that had the mother wound. And I did the same thing, and I am so excited because, and I have more. Oh my gosh, I feel like this has to be a regular thing. Anytime I talk about the ways that our upbringing and our conditioning, everything really shifts who we are. Shows are such great ways to understand these archetypes because that's what they're built on. You know, if you get really deep into storytelling and understanding how a writer creates every character in every story. I am not a writer, but I am a lover of art and creativity, and my mind is blown. My mind is blown when I recognize the depth of a character, that this is based off of archetypes of who we had to become. And it is so real in a lot of instances. So let me get into this. Archetypes, I went into just the wounded energies, right? So to really understand whether you resonate with it or not, because often they can be really over exaggerated, not always, but this is just to help you understand, okay, this might be an aspect of it. Obviously, you might not fully resonate with any of these characters, but it really helps you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So, the wounded masculine, I'm bringing it back to euphoria again. So, Nate and his dad, very much in the wounded masculine. They are very disconnected from who they are and really hiding who they are. Another one is Dawn from Mad Men. That is a really great example of someone who really looks at relationships as transactional and is disconnected from his emotions. I don't want to use any examples of real life people because I could use some from Selling Sunset, but I won't do that. I'm going to keep it to fictional characters. Okay. So Regina George from Mean Girls, very great example. And the thing is they don't all have to be mean or this over exaggerated negative. That's not always what it is. Often it's someone who has the best intentions, and when they get triggered, they shift into this mode. So keep that in mind as well. Another one is Peggy Olson from Mad Men. She is very highly in her masculine as well. Okay, so archetypes of a wounded feminine. Oh, love this. Okay, so George Costanza, I actually think from Seinfeld. Sure, everyone knows that. I hope everyone knows that. George Costanza, no judgment, by the way, is very much in his wounded feminine, that woe is me feeling of this is just life is happening to me. I have no control. Another person would be, I mentioned A Million Little Things in the last episode, Gina, her mom, Gina's mom, from A Million Little Things is very much in the wounded feminine. Livia Soprano from The Sopranos, very much, she's the matriarch of the crime family, very much in the wounded feminine. Notice that all of these people, though, whether it's wounded masculine or wounded feminine, are all really unfulfilled and unhappy. Like, that is the biggest point that I'm trying to make. Whether you're in the masculine, it comes out externally, often, not always. When you're in the feminine, it's often internal. Sometimes it can be external as well. But whether it is external or internal, The shame can vary, right? But one is no better than the other. It is still the same wounding. It came from the same place and it has the same type of work to be done. So remember, the ultimate goal is to embody both divine energies in the healthiest way. And that's how you're going to be able to really make these huge shifts in your life. You're going to be able to align your life to what feels right for you, the reason that you came here, right? To move past your struggles. You're going to be a freaking magnet for the life that you want, the more that you heal these things. Your divine partnership is going to be available for you. You might be craving that, but if you're not available for it, it's simply not there. It's simply not an option. So also, you're going to be a magnet for really your purpose and just following your path, because this really aligns you to your purpose, your path, and just being very confident in who that is, that clarity. So let's talk about how. This is where I suggest connecting to the root. I think that we have a tendency to look at everything that's wrong or everything that we want to change in our life. We try to change it, we fail, and then we just think we're a failure and go back to the shame that we felt before, and then eventually getting back to, okay, let me try again. You got to go deeper. So again, I've mentioned this before. You can look at the symptom and the things that you want to change in your life, but in order to shift it, you need to go back into the root of why that began, why you might be attracted to this, why this might feel safe to you. Look at why you had to shift into that energy to survive as a child, what your family dynamics were, and what your place was in that. Often this can be unconscious, right? So look at generational wounding and begin to move through that wounding with subconscious reprogramming, inner child healing, nervous system regulation. There are so many different ways to move through that. And there's a very good chance that working with someone will benefit you. Of course, it will benefit you, but depending on where you're at and your abilities and what you're able to do, just beginning to look at maybe what the root is going to really help you here. So a balanced feminine and masculine energies are all about aligning to your authentic self. It's about knowing and living by your purpose, remembering what your purpose even is, because we've all veered so far away from that naturally. It's about trusting the universe and the reason that you're here and all of these things. So my next piece of advice would begin to work through all of that, connecting back to yourself, connecting back to your body, getting quiet, beginning to work through the conditioning and the programming and all of the trauma that has taken you away from your authentic self and made you wear these masks that you probably don't even realize that you're wearing. And you've been wearing them since you were a kid, really. So moving through those things are going to really, really help you. And that includes recognizing too the resistance to that and removing the blocks that you might have towards who your authentic self is. Because sometimes we've been told when we're younger, if there's something, who we are or what we resonate with, we've been told that's wrong or that's stupid or whatever the story is. So we push it away and then we begin to judge that. So often who we really are and what our purpose is something that we've judged too. So something that we're not even able to recognize because of what we've been told, right? So removing the layers, removing the masks. A huge focus that I have with my clients is about pinpointing what it is that, in what ways they had to really abandon their truth, why, where that stemmed from, what the masks were that they had to put on, the ways that they are unconsciously sabotaging themselves or unconsciously sabotaging relationships. You know, really pinpointing the ways that we had to abandon our truth in order to survive growing up, right? So it's almost impossible to recognize these things because I I will probably say this in every episode. We only have one brain. Okay. This is my biggest thing. We only have one brain. So we cannot be expected to know why we are the way we are if this is who we had to become, right? Oh my gosh. Am I getting meta once again? It's happening. It's so almost impossible. I say you can do all the reading that you want, but to recognize what your thoughts are actually saying and meaning, it's a lot. So you might need a little bit of extra help with that. That's, not everyone is available or able to get the extra help though. So that's why I give these other really great stepping points. I don't know if that's even a phrase. Stepping off points. Yeah, let's go with that. But like I was saying, something that you can do right now, costs nothing, completely free, will change things for you. Get outside of your head and begin reconnecting to your body. Turn off your phone, begin reconnecting with the universe, with Mother Nature, and that's going to make some shifts for you. Another thing you can do is start by saying yes to what feels good and no to what doesn't feel good. And then anything that doesn't feel good, just recognize like, why doesn't it feel good? Because there's a lot of reasons that we say no because of conditioning or because of what we've been told or made to believe, but it's actually not authentic to us. So begin to question the no's, but stand by them if they are absolute no's. This is going to help you recognize who you really are. Okay. So all of this might seem very overwhelming to you, but it is layers, it is steps, and it is 100% manageable. And it is only manageable if you start, right? Oh, I do not want to forget. I mentioned earlier, I created this amazing resource and I want to give it to you for free because I'm in a really freaking good mood right now. It's going to help you see what energy you're embodying, that you're harnessing, that you had to align with in order to grow up, that you had to align with as you were growing up in order to survive, and how to shift into a more balanced energy. So I give you some tips of, if you're very much in the masculine, how to shift back into the feminine and to allow that energy to kind of rise up. And if you're in the feminine, how to embody more of the masculine. So check out the show notes for that. If you liked this and you want to give me a really good review, I love you so much. And I want to give you a freaking gift for it because I'm so appreciative of anyone who, first of all, listens to what I have to say, takes it in, and wants to share it with other people. I am so grateful for that. So share your review and on social media, share your thoughts on this episode, tag me, and in return, I'm going to pull a card for you from your higher self. So this will be a message that your soul family wants you to hear right now, or right when you receive it, right when you tag me, right when I pull it for you. And I cannot wait to see what comes through for every single one of you. I absolutely love doing these. And yeah, I would really appreciate it. Now, thank you for listening. It's time for you to put down your freaking phone and get outside. Okay, so I will talk to you all next week.